Hello, and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. Uh, I looked at I just came in, so I just looked at everything and I saw that it looked like because of where I was whenever I scheduled the live stream, the time zones were off, so I was off by a lot. So I've decided to start early, which means I'm going to go longer. Hi, all. How are you all doing? Uh, So, since nobody's here yet, I'm going to answer all these questions, and then when people start to trickle in, I will move on to other stuff. But can everybody hear me currently? Let me open up a different screen here on a different screen, and let's see here. So, it's just been a fun week and a half. So, hey, Ron, I tried asking my VSO about exam request details for what was provided to VES examiner, and they didn't know what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, what do you mean they didn't know what you were talking about? Hey, Ron. So it's literally this frustrates me a little bit with some VSOs, but if they go into the documents section, there's literally a document called exam request. I mean, it's not rocket science. It literally just says exam request. They have to click on the document and then it will show them what theory is being requested. So, direct, secondary, like what medical opinion is being requested, what DBQ is being requested, and all the evidence associated with that was included for each diagnosis or disability that's getting an exam. So, oh my gosh, like I can't with this. Like the VSOs, and I know that there are some VSOs that watch, so I'm not picking on them, but VSOs have to do better. You should familiarize yourself with the documents in there because it's just called exam request. That is literally the title of the examination. And if they, I, okay, okay. That sorry, I didn't even click on it. It just triggered me so quickly that wow. Yeah. So you would ask them to go into VBMS core. You would ask them to go to the documents tab. There's tabs in VBMS. And then they would go to the documents tab. And then you would look for the date in which you submitted your claim. And then after that date, there should be something called a document titled exam request. They would click on it. They would see. Whew, okay. Oh, so that's what it is. So thank you both for your service and sacrificing, helping care for service members. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. All right, we'll go through these a little bit and then I'll talk to you about what I want to talk to you about. Thank you for your assistance. Thank you for your support. I filed for a condition but didn't at the time of filing link it as secondary to another condition. Let's keep on moving. Can I now reconfigure the claim for it to be secondary to a condition for which is now admitted service? Yes, you can. If the claim is still open, you can file a VA form 21-4138 and specifically request to have, if prior to a deny, like if they adjudicate the claim, you would also like to have secondary service connection to whatever disability considered before the claim is finalized, if it's not granted for a different reason. Ankylosis, spondylosis for arthritis in my shoulder. I was diagnosed with both at the same time. I've proven service connection for the AS. Okay, ankylosing and spondylosis. Arthritis secondary to ankylosis, spondylosis. Okay. I mean, yeah, I would just do it on a 4138. So sorry, gang. It's kind of I'm rushing into this. They're both autoimmune diseases. Yeah, it's fine. And then, hey, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. So we're at 51 people now viewing because I've rushed it and done some craziness. Raider, you opened up a can of worms. Looks like these comments, and you're not live yet. Yay. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get to them as fast as I can. It's not just one question. It's a multitude of questions. So sleep apnea keeps going back and forth for clarification, and now ACE. What does that typically mean? Okay, so if it's gone back and forth, then typically what that means is that the rater has asked for clarification. Like the examiner said some things that were conflicting in probably the medical opinion. And if they're sending for a new ACE exam, then that means that they've either given up on trying to get the examiner to correct the inadequacies, and they're trying to do a tiebreaker or a new examination or a new medical opinion and a new examination through a different vendor. It doesn't mean that's one possible scenario. Another possible scenario is they clarified back to the examiner who changed their opinion to a denial. And before they formally deny you, they're going to try for maybe a Terra medical opinion. So this is just a kind of a Hail Mary potentially also to get a final, to have the duty to assist be completed and get you all of the potential theories for service connection, a medical opinion for each of them before they finalize the rating. Oh, wow. Yep, that is true. Hello, hi, 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 hi. Constant pain. Okay, so this is kind of a this depends. So if you're talking like a joint condition, constant pain is not a disability itself. Constant pain is a symptom of a different disability. So if you have ankle pain, then the ankle joint and whatever is wrong with it, like ankle strain, sprain, or whatever, is the disability, and the symptom is pain. So how they would do it for joints is typically, with the exception of the shoulder, joint pain is a minimum of 10% rating decision. In the shoulders, it's 20%. So there's that. Now, for everything else, like if you had GERD with pain, the 38 CFR Part 4 has to actually say that pain is a symptom of the condition that you're kind of going for. If it doesn't, so like if you had let's see here. Let's say you had dry eyes and you had pain because of dry eyes. That's not itself a compensable symptom. So the pain associated with dry eyes would not itself get any kind of service connection bonus. Good evening to you too. My claim for mental health secondary to OSA went to TJ. I have an appointment for an independent medical opinion on Monday. Should I submit that or wait for a final decision and a supplementary claim? I would honestly wait, because if they include it, and let's say that they kind of top sheet it and they don't consider it and they still deny you, then you would still be required to get new and relevant evidence prior to being able to do a supplemental claim. So I would just honestly wait if it were mine, because it's going to throw a monkey wrench into stuff. Because let's say your medical opinion says something different than the examiner's, then they've got to get a tiebreaker, right? So that still has to go to a third examiner, which doesn't help you because you're trying to one time go on your thing, to where you submit a private DBQ, private medical opinion, and you get granted. That's what you want to have happen. And it's more likely to happen on a supplemental claim than trying to just flood the claim with evidence. And I think I've said this in other videos to not do that, because it just delays the claim typically. Denied TDIU today, but they mentioned favorable findings identified in this decision. You are not working. You are currently unemployed. Your service-connected disabilities meet criteria. That's true. But the part that the favorable finding that you're missing is that your service-connected disabilities caused you to be unemployed. So that was the Raiders' exclusive decision. So they have the ability to basically non-medically determine whether or not your disability causes your is causing you to be unemployed. So unfortunately, I'm sorry that that happened to you. It's quite common because a lot of raters do not have a good grasp on what the causality would be there, and the requirements for the economic impact assessment do not really do much to provide medical explanation to the raters to give them an informed decision. So it's kind of a flaw in the process. And disrobed, I'm sorry about that. I look, it actually said go time of 3:41, and then it was supposed to be 5:30. But yeah, sorry for that. Hi, writer. If my claim was denied for depression and anxiety without receiving a CMP exam last year, can I be back paid from then if I'm approved for depression and anxiety? It would depend, Air Force girl. It would depend on why you didn't get an exam previously. If you didn't get an exam because you didn't have enough evidence to warrant getting an exam, like if you just said like I have mental health problems and you didn't satisfy element 1 to get an exam, then no, it will be locked in the current supplemental claim. Like the effective date will be typically. So that is that. There's other potential niche situations, but they're very specific. I am early. I'm sorry. It just everything went sideways. So it's going to be a longer show today. I'm going to call it a show. Just in time for the rant nation. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. So, also, why is the VA requesting my DD-214s from me? Shouldn't they have access to that? Sometimes no. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you were handed information. I don't know if any of you have went to MEPS before, but sometimes they hand you their complete file and it's in your hands, and sometimes stuff gets lost. So they kind of do that whenever they can't find it, because the military being the military, they lose things. So it's not necessarily a good sign that they've lost it and that they're asking you. There are other ways for them to confirm it, but they're not ideal. Let's move on. What is a POI? I filed an 0995 for sleep apnea with my 526, but heard nothing. Called last week and they updated it and said a POI was started on it. I don't know. I don't know why that's not coming to my brain, but that's not a common terminology. I'll have to look that up later. I'll try to circle back on that one. The VA said it was overlooked, by the way. I don't. What would that be? I don't know why I'm blanking on that. That's weird. Okay, just got 100%. However, my private provider just gave me back my hypertension DBQ filled out. Is it worth it to file that? No. No. Look, CB, I'm going to try to be. I don't want to spread fear and panic and things like that, but if you got 100%, I would not open the door for QRT to take anything away currently. I would want to let it sit for a while. And now I had said in the prior video to leave it, let things rest for 30, 69, 90 days after the government shutdown resolves. So that way we can determine that all of the quality reviews have been done. Now, there are some QRT there that are doing some quality reviews, but not all quality is there. So if you've recently got rated, I would wait for stability before you start touching things, because every single time you submit a claim, there's quality reviews that are done here, there, and everywhere. And I'm going to be very frank with you. The quality review team is weaponized idiocy to the point that I think you could probably load each and every one of them into a weapon and fire them off and be lethal. Like, that's how at times they can be very, very bad at their job, to the point that I just wonder if it's just straight nepotism as to how they got it. And I'm curious if some of them can read. And I know that's me being pretty negative, but I'm going to be honest with you. I wish that Doug Collins would review how many times quality review errors are overturned for being factually inaccurate and just based upon fear and other things. Just scared people running around doing nonsense like a chicken with their head chopped off. So, circling back to a more constructive answer, I would wait at least 3 months after the government shutdown shuts down to determine whether or not there's any kind of benefit added to filing this claim. Could you potentially get to 100%? Could that, would you be 0%? Would your hypertension be 0%? Or would it be 10%? Because if it's 0%, there's no value added. You're just opening the door for QRT to do their nonsense all over the place. So tread carefully, my friend. All right. Okay, I'm filing my sleep apnea claim. I want to take the Tara route. Who decides what route it goes through? And will the Tara process take longer? Okay, so you actually determine, for the most part, what route your claim takes, like which theories apply. By stating that on the claim form or in the claim submission online, you'll state how you want to claim it. If it's due to Tara, if it's direct, if it's secondary, that's up to you. It will not take any longer for Tara to be done. Like the Tara theory doesn't take any longer. There's no additional, yes, you have to pull the Eiler, and yes, you have to do the Tara memo. Those take like 10 minutes total. Like, it's not and the VSR and the Raider get a lot of points for them, like 0.63 and 0.62 and 0.70. So there's value added to them doing it. So, it's going to happen. But it doesn't take any longer. It's not. I am the GOAT. Hey, Raider, sent you an email oh, geez. Justin, I'm sorry. You just mention the emails. I'm getting an ulcer. Regarding SMCS1 from IU, the RVSR completely missed it. Okay, Justin, you have to have, in order to get SMCS1, you had to have gotten TDIU for only one condition. That's it. It has to be one single condition. If you said my back, my knees, my legs, and they only granted you one condition, that is not the same thing. You had to have claimed it as one condition. Like my PTSD causes my my inability to be employed. Jeez, I can't even talk tonight. So if that's not the case, like if they have multiple things, and you'll be able to see on your rating decision, because it'll say in the TDIU section, it'll say you've been granted 100% for this, this, and this. Same thing with DEA. It should say, you were granted for this, this, and this. So sometimes it's not that they missed it. Sometimes you didn't qualify because you didn't have one single thing that was the reason why you were brought up to TDI, up to 100%. and that's in the CFR section. Uh, I would just review to make sure to see, because if it's for more than one thing, then they can't apply SMCS 1. It doesn't count towards that. Yes, please hit the like and subscribe button. Do it now. Come on, do it. Don't make me wait. Sorry. I've been waiting to use that. And thank you. Veloso Rivera. Oh, geez. Okay. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Greetings. If a VA has SMCL plus 4 separate ratings of 50%, do they qualify for N? Okay. I'm going to tell you right now that the realm of N is not my area of expertise, just because I've never done an SMC higher than L. But whenever I went through that section, I did the live stream that included SMC review. Typically, the only one that gives you like the half step type thing, you can only do like L and a half with a half step, is my interpretation of it. It will depend on what your disabilities are, because if I recall correctly, N is the one where it starts to where your ADLs don't matter anymore. It's whether or not you've lost your foot. It's, loss of use, loss of, complete amputation type thing. So I'll have to double check on that one. Is the likelihood sleep apnea can be granted as secondary to GERD? Statistically speaking, I've never seen that granted. Now, ever. Is it possible? I mean, you'd have to science the heck out of this. This would be one of the situations where more scientific evidence would be better as to the causal relationship of it. How is it medically possible? Because there's a lot of doctors out there that have a medical, I guess, bias against, rhinitis and sinusitis causing sleep apnea, because they say you can just breathe through your mouth. But GERD is a completely different animal. And I would say that you'd have to, like, my first step would be go to your doctor, see if they can medically kind of, rationalize that in their head. And if they can, then there's evidence to show that that might be a theory that you could go after. Oh, actually, let me show the live comments too, because I'm missed out on that. Had an examiner say that this condition should have been tied to my IVDS. That was denied. That by what she was seeing should not have been denied, but there was nothing she could do. What should I do? Chris, okay. So that examiner kind of messed you up, because she provided you with a rationale, like with a medical opinion, tying it to something that's not service connected. So now, in order to get the thing that you're talking about service connected, you have to get IVDS service connected. So she didn't do you any favors. She just kind of made it to where it's 2 times removed. Sorry. Doors and whatnot. So yeah, they didn't do you any favors on this. What you'll have to do is you'll have to get IVDS. Either you'll have to get IVDS granted, and then you have an automatic secondary that's been kind of at least reinforced by this examiner. But if you don't, then both of them are kind of, she burned you a little bit, not intentionally, but she just made it harder to grant for the other one. Sorry, I know that's not a good answer to that. Hi, Raider. I get MUCME is successor to Gulf War syndrome, but can you use MUCME based upon general exposures of unknown specificity without meeting income? No. Okay, so there's 2 different things here. MUCME is location based. TARA is not. So what you're talking about is you're talking about TARA. So general exposures, um, exposures to bases, like McClellan, like there's certain ones like that's all falls under the Terra theory for service connection. So just make sure that you go for that. Now, you'll also have to make sure that you cite the specific chemicals that you were exposed to in service. You can do that on a VA Form 21 4138. And that's about, and it's going to behave like a direct theory where you have to have a medical opinion. There are no presumptives for Terra, so please keep that in mind. All right. Had VA Terra interview and the following statement appeared in my VA problem list: exposure to potential hazardous substance. Also received a letter in the mail. Okay, so unfortunately, this is like the separation of church and state. Okay, the VHA doing a Terra interview with you and saying that you have exposure to potential hazardous substances does not translate over to the VBA. The VBA does not care about what the VHA says because the VHA deals in you telling them things. The VBA, unfortunately, deals in proving things. So just because they said it, unfortunately, won't help with the proving. Because number one, that doesn't tell me anything, right? It doesn't tell me what chemicals you know. And I mean, I appreciate the thanks and thanks for calling me Raider, but I know it doesn't help you. But it's better to actually list the exposures, like I told Michael in the previous comment, to list them out and also explain the job duties and locations and whatnot as to how you would have come into contact with those chemicals. All right. Why is 38 CFR 3.317B and the Raider Terra Act all deny 3 Navy deployments in the Gulf? VA higher level review accept all 214 buddy statements, and VA psychiatrist and Raider said no new evidence. I don't think it was okay. Wow. Okay. There's a lot to unpack here. Okay. The Raider Terra Act, the PACT Act. So the 3 naval deployments, what'll happen is that'll be up to the VSR typically to determine whether or not the exposures meet criteria. The Raider can weigh in on it, but if they're nautical, they should have went to the nautical review. So anytime that you are you're a veteran who's been on a ship before and you want to try to claim Terra exposures, toxic exposure risk activities, or you want to claim like 38 CFR 3.317, 38 CFR 3.320 based upon being in like the Gulf of Aden, the Gulf of Oman, like stuff like that. What you'll want to do is you will want to highlight that your exposures are nautical, because there should be a nautical actual review where they send off to centralized processing, your claim off to centralized processing, and they have people that look up ship locations. They have a ship locator and it'll see where you deployed to. And if you fall within certain like geographical criteria, then you count. There should also be on your a covered memo that gets put out for you, like an 1117 memo and 1119 memo. There's a lot of different avenues. I don't understand why your nautical deployments wouldn't count to the Gulf. So I'm sorry that happened to you, but I might go to a VSO and see what's actually in your file, just to double check. But I'm rated 0% for hearing loss. I want to file an increase. What's the best way to go for me? Okay. Hearing loss is one of the weird disabilities that I say every single year you should put in a claim for increase. And that's all you do. You just put in a claim for increase. There's nothing special. There's no, you don't need a private hearing exam. You just need to go to a VA exam, and it's either you either have the worst hearing loss or you don't. And it's going to be weird. It takes a lot of hearing loss in order to get to that 10%. And it's very weird. I don't understand why, but it just is. Okay. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions, and then I'm going to go on to my topic of the day because we have about 120 people here. Had a duty to assist error. Already service connected, but increase requested. VA sent forms to get private medical or submit my own. Ooh, I submitted on my own. Seemed to be waiting full 30 days before. Okay. This is hard for me. So had duty to assist, already service connected, but increase requested. So private medical, yeah. They'll want you to probably do the VA form 21-4142 and the VA form 21-4142A. And sometimes the reason for that is they're just being weird. I mean, sometimes they want points, and that's why they do it. Sherman Baker, your question, maybe. It's hard. They don't like to do that. Hold on just a second. You should start a program to help veterans get rated properly. I probably should. I'm thinking about it. I mean, I'm going to be going accredited claims agent at some point in time. It'll be separate from this channel. It'll probably be the Rater HQ, and this will be the After Dark version of it. But I'll probably just do that, and then I won't overtly advertise it on here just because I want to keep the purity of the channel. But it'll be an option when it is, and I might make one post about it just to let you guys know it's there, but I won't harp on it, and I won't sell it to you guys. Okay, since I didn't send in the forms, will they automatically give another 30 days to submit even though I already sent the requested medical? They will not give you another 30 days, no. And Echo, have you ever... Oh, you guys asked me the weirdest questions about sleep apnea. So have you ever seen sleep apnea be granted through a pes cavus aggravation claim with plantar? No, I have never. And I mean, if I ever did, I'd be asking for drug tests. Random UAs would need to be answered. Like somebody would have to, because if you're just saying it's weight gain, it would be sleep apnea due to weight gain. And then because if you have to be careful how you claim things, because the examiner reads how you claim it. So they'll say sleep apnea secondary to pes cavus aggravation with plantar fasciitis. If that's written that way, that examiner is going to say no. And they'll say something to the effect of, there's no medical correlation between the feet and the respiratory system. So it behooves you when you write your medical opinions to actually break it up and say, I'm wishing to claim sleep apnea due to weight gain caused by my service-connected disabilities. And then, my musculoskeletal service-connected disabilities. And leave it at that or something to that effect, because each one of us has an internal bias. And the internal bias is they're going to instantly make a judgment call if you give them too much evidence. So you want them to ease into it and be as neutral as possible. What's John Gold say down here? Hey, Raider, what's your thoughts on veteran AI getting a contract with the VA for submitting claims? I think that's cool, John Gold. I honestly think that that's kind of a cool thing. I don't have any kind of animosity towards that. I don't think that it should be okay. AI is a great tool in a support situation. It is not like It would be like using AI to file your claim is like being in an RV while it's driving down the road and hit cruise control and walk back and make a cup of coffee. Good luck, everyone. Like yeah, it's not going to end well. Um, so the thing I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about real quick, and then I'll get back to the questions. I will. It's Bob's the next one, but I wanted to take some time and I wanted to talk about the Philadelphia scandal a little bit more. Okay. And I'll rehash this a little bit. The Philadelphia scandals where we had a senior VSR who, and I'm going to say that they were at the discretion of the RO. So a senior, and I'm pulling it up right now, a senior veteran service representative, VSR, at Philadelphia VA regional office blindly approved an estimated 85,300 claims between the fiscal years of 2022 through 2024, which is about 19 times, and the story goes on. So, yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it has been brought to my attention, and I should have been more empathetic about this, that there are many of you out there who have had rating decisions between 2022 and today, and you guys are freaked out because we don't know what's going to happen. It's a lottery, and it's not a good lottery. I mean, I guess it could be. Somebody mentioned this. I should be more neutral in not going towards the negative. Whatever the case, the VA is looking at these rating decisions. So if you've had a negative rating decision that happened at Philadelphia between 2022 and currently, Nate the Hoof guy. Okay, weird. But if you had a negative claim, there's going to be the possibility that the VA, the OIG, will actually re-adjudicate these claims and review them for accuracy. And I'll go into that a little bit as to what could happen. Now, I don't have any inside information as to what will happen, but it's going to be very concerning, potentially, for those of you that got beneficial things from the Philadelphia RO. Like, let's say you went from 70% to 100% in 2023. There's a chance under review that your claim could come back altered. Maybe you're not 100% anymore. Okay. So there's a problem with that. Number one, how do you know between 2022 and today where your claim was processed at? So what we need to kind of go over is what are some of the ways that you can tell where who did your claim. So you can go to a VSO and you can ask them to look at your claim decision, and they can go to what is known as the code sheet, and they can look at the rater's signature at the bottom. And typically the signature must include the initials of the regional office that completed the adjudication at the very least. So I'm looking at the other questions here. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is have the VSO go into the rating notes section, like the VBMS notes section, and look for about the time period in which your rating decision was completed. And what they're looking for is they're looking for the date your claim was adjudicated and who adjudicated it and what regional office they were associated with. So which authorizer authorized it. And those are two specific things that, you can do to kind of, number one, identify whether or not you're in the category of the Philadelphia nonsense. So how do I, sorry, I'm reading things. Now, why does it matter to even know about this stuff? Well, you can then look to see if Philadelphia is a thing, because what's going to potentially happen is OIG is going to take all of the claims that that person ever touched, right? And it's going to be even further back than 2022, potentially, depending on what role they had and whether or not this program was going for longer than that. They might also expand it out to where it's not just that person, because I'll tell you right now, that is not a one off thing. That was not a rogue authorizer. That was by design. And the reason why I can tell you that it's by design is because we have this horrible problem with the quality and production system. You have quality and production for the VSR, the Raider, the everybody. You have quality and production requirements for the coaches. You have quality and production requirements for the VSCM. And guess what? Even the regional office has quality and production standards. So guess what happens? Every time that authorizer hand jammed those rating decisions as quickly as possible, right? What they did was they were trying to make their RO climb the ranks, because the number of claims that an RO completes dictates what spot it is in the nation. The higher up you are on the list between 1 and 57, because there's 57 ROs, the higher up you are on the list, the easier your life is. Big VA, Papa Bear Collins ain't looking over your shoulder if you're in the top 10. So the Philadelphia thing is just one example, guys. One example of some of the bad things that are happening at some of these ROs, because they're doing things to artificially cook the books so they look better. Okay. I mean, I'm telling you right now, there's some underhanded stuff that happens sometimes to where they're just doing things to get points. The veteran isn't even in the equation. So, coming back to Philadelphia, though, the concerns. Why do we want to know this? Well, we want to know this because what do you do if if you find out that your claim was at Philadelphia and it was adjudicated during that time period? How do you, the veteran, basically ensure that, like, if you got something beneficial, how do you keep it? And if you didn't get something beneficial, what are some ways that you could potentially pad your claim to where if they make a different decision, you're padding it in such a way that it gets rated higher? Um, Sorry, I had to cough there for a second. But so that's going to be like a little bit of this TED Talky portion of this, is that if you had a if you had a negative outcome from Philadelphia and you figure it out, and if it was because you didn't have, or like let's say that you didn't get the effective date that you think that you should have gotten, I would start researching that stuff, and I would start, kind of gathering up your evidence and make that and just send it in, and just send in your complaints. Or if you were denied because you didn't have a current diagnosis, it might be a good time to do a supplemental claim. Because what can happen is if you had something negative happen to you, like you were denied, you were this, you were that, and let's say you get granted now. Well, if you should have been granted back then and they do a review, then that would be a clear and unmistakable error that they're going to be looking for. I've participated in one of these previous kerfuffles, we'll call it, to where the kerfuffle that I was a part of was, what had happened was there was this large scale thing where hip and knees surgeries for total knee and hip replacements were criminally not given the appropriate amount of back pay for the 13-month convalescence period that's built into the 38 CFR Part 4. So what the VA does in these situations is they gather up all the claims that are tainted, were incorrectly done, and they put them in kind of a box, let's say, and they have each one of them flagged a certain way. And then they will assign a regional office that is not part of the problem, we'll call it, to do those claims. Maybe multiple offices to work through them faster will do it. It's called a special project. And they have like a national work queue special project for category or something like that. Like they come up with weird ways. But yeah, kerfuffle. But so what'll happen is VSRs and raters will review this under specific guidelines. You can only look at this right here. You have to do this. You have to review this. You have to do this. At least that was our case. And then they get their own special quality review. They get their own special everything. Because when this happens, the VA is adamant about fixing it. Like OIG gets sideways about stuff. And when big VA gets told to do something, I mean, there's a certain SOP for it. Like there'll be a specific SOP for it. So in the event that like you do a supplemental claim now and they find out in that review, because there will be a review on these claims from Philadelphia, there will be a large scale review. 80 something thousand claims are getting reviewed. So yeah, and I lost my train of thought. After that, though, what you'll want to do is jeez, I can't even think. So that's the what happens if something bad. Gosh, I cannot get my train of thought. Let's talk about good things. So, like, let's say something good happened to you. If something good happened to you, like you were awarded 80 to 100%, what I would suggest right now is I would suggest for the next 6 months, maybe longer, is you cannot trust the outcome of a Philadelphia rating decision that was positive in your favor from there. You just can't. It's not something like it's not me trying to scare you guys or anything like that, but OIG is going to review every single one of these claims. They're going to have a microscope on every single one of them, and they will take if taken needs to happen. So it behooves you to strengthen your evidence, right? Continue to have treatment. If you're a Philadelphia person, and let's say that, I'll just use this example. Let's say you were granted for shoulders. Okay, musculoskeletal shoulder grants are not complicated. So that's something that you can take to your VSO if you had a positive grant from Philadelphia. Take it to your VSO, have them review it. Have them see if the medical opinion that was used to grant you, or see if the DBQ that was used to increase you to a more favorable result, see if there's any kind of red flags that happened with it. That if even your VSO can go, wait a minute, that's not right, that's wrong. Because you want to strengthen your claim. Because the VA's looking. This guy, I mean, there's a lot of errors that this guy, this program, this RO, this leadership team in Philadelphia did. I don't know the name of the person. Finding out that name might help, because if they touched your claim. But I would review everything. I would review the, even if it's positive, even if you've got a positive thing, I would review for the effective date. I would review for everything. No. And that's the other bad thing, George, is that your claims, depending on where it is, if they recall to the national work queue, they're given out to somebody else. It might not go back to the same regional office. It definitely probably won't go back to the same human being that touched it beforehand. But so yeah, the Philadelphia thing, I definitely wanted to bring up because there are concerns for both sides. Because I talked about in that video about like, hey, look, the government shutdown, you should be wary about quality polls that happen much later. Like I would not be in the here and now, I would not be too reliant on, if you got something positive from the VA, that it'll stay. So I would wait until 90 days after the government shutdown ends before I take whatever they gave me and just go, okay, it's real at this point in time. I wouldn't consider it real until that. And I'm more neurotic than other people, right? But I have seen people have stuff taken away from them. Pardon me. And it freaks me out a little bit. So I'm just telling you to be cautious because they can take they can do a quality review, they can find quality errors, they can even good ones, right? So this also applies because I was told to also focus on the other side of the coin, that this could apply to you being denied. I wouldn't totally give up because a quality review could happen and they could say, "Oh, it's premature. We prematurely denied him for or her for this, and we need to get another medical opinion or something." I know it's okay, but it's hard, Roger. It's hard to educate VSOs because everything changes daily. It's hard for them to keep up on things unless they are advocates for it. I mean, they have to be advocates. 452. So if they're not like completely staying up on it, there's no amount of training. Like they'd have to be in training all day long. No, Robert. Well, yes, Robert. It does apply to BDD claim. Well, it won't apply to you because your claim's not adjudicated yet. So the Philadelphia thing doesn't apply to you specifically because you're not out yet. But the government shutdown advice that I've given, yes, that does and probably will apply to you if you get granted before the government shutdown ends. And yeah, okay. So let me try to find my spot here. What is going on? But that's about all I wanted to bring up about Philadelphia. So I just kind of wanted to address it because there's a lot of, freaked out people, and rightfully so, because you don't know there's no certainty in your rating decision if it fell within the 2022 to 2024 time period. And I'm going to say beyond that because sometimes those investigations, they're not as thorough. Like they just pick a time period and pull a sample of it and they go, wait a minute, this was wrong. But that sample doesn't necessarily speak to the whole systemic problem. It's kind of like how, pulling 3 quality pulls a month and the person does over 100 claims. That's not an accurate quality assessment as to what is going on. Earl, the news said 2022 to 2024. So 2022 to 2024 is the time frame for the Philadelphia thing. But I would say so let me get on to some more questions here. And I'll be doing, hopefully I can have the same questions be pulled afterwards, and I'll just do supplemental videos on them and just sprinkle them in through my normal content. So if your question gets missed, I'm going to try to answer them all. Okay. All right. If someone is approved based upon presumption, but should have been approved based upon aggravation, is that a problem? Bob, that is a be quiet problem. Yes, that's a problem. Because let me explain to you neutrally what the problem is. If you were granted for presumption, there's the potential that you could have been erroneously granted an earlier effective date than what should have been needed to be awarded. Aggravation also has the problem that, thank you, Deke, I appreciate it. And Deke792 is the rock star who actually organized everything. So they did all the legwork on that. So please thank Deke. Please. Very cool of them to do this. Very cool. So the aggravation portion of that question, you have a problem that if you had symptoms before service that that were compensable, then they subtract it. So if you had like pes planus before service and they said it was at 10% severity and you get rated for 50%, then what would happen is if they granted under aggravation, they would subtract 50, well, 10 minus 50. So you'd be end up with 40%. That's the way aggravation works. So there is no advantage to having aggravation be the one that it should have went for. But there's the potential for it to be bad. I wouldn't touch it. I would just walk away from it if I were you, Bob, and never speak of it again. Recently discharged a few months ago. If I see my VA doctor and bring up my shoulder pain, is that enough to file my shoulder pain claim? Yes, it is, but you have to have an in-service event, disease, disorder, diagnosis, treatment in order for us to grant. But yes, if you file a claim now, it would be up to the rater to determine whether or not the condition is service connected based upon there being in-service treatment for it and current treatment for it. So you wouldn't have a medical opinion. So you just kind of skip that whole nonsense. And then, oh man, I lost my spot. No, I didn't. All right. I logged into my claim tonight, saw it went down from step 6 to step 5, and it said, we sent you a development letter. So, yeah, I don't know what that would be other than just trying to solicit potentially more information for it. Different conditions have different norms when it comes to what we develop for. So I'd need more information on that. Also sucks about TDIU. My VSO recommends a higher level review with statements. Do you agree? I mean, you can try the higher level review, but just remember my cautionary tale is that you have to point to something or else you let the DRO walk around with no focus. And it's a power that I like to use sparingly. So you can do a higher level review, but you've got to be able to point to where the VSR missed it or the rater missed it. Disrobed. Had this show up in my claim. Oh my gosh. I was talking to somebody about this today. So you know what that is? That is bad. So what they look for is that's them checking the registry of the doctor to make sure that what they put on your document matches what the NPI registry looks like. And if it doesn't match, then that provider is deemed, that DBQ is deemed insufficient because it has not passed the authenticity review. So there's many different reviews that happen. Okay. So yes, they burned that DBQ potentially. There's no reason to write that unless they burned the DBQ, and they burned it for the reason of the NPI registry didn't match. And it's common. Like you wouldn't believe how common it is. Where the examiners, the doctors, the nurse practitioners, the PAs, all them, they don't have to update their NPI number to work, right? The only entity that cares about their NPI number matching where they work, what their phone number is, what their address is the VA. Maybe the Social Security Administration, but I don't know that much about that. But yeah, so they may have burned. Now, disrobed. How do you know that they burned your thing? I've talked about this a lot of times. If you get an exam from the VA, you've submitted a private DBQ, and you get an exam from the VA for the same thing that you had a private DBQ for, they burned your DBQ and or medical opinion. I'm sorry, disrobed, but it's not 100% certain, but I have no clue why they would write that other than to say that it was burned. All right. Had VA. I think I've answered that one. Yes, I've answered that one. Nice. Nice. Um, when you are granted a claim via Terra, does it go back to the intent to file date? Yes, or earlier. If you had the condition before 810 of 2022, so you had a diagnosed condition that you were granted for Terra, you should get, and now this is going to be a little tricky, potentially 1 year prior to the intent to file date because of liberalizing law earlier effective date criteria. So that's typically how that works. Yeah, I think you're going to be the victim of the current environment too, Disrobed. I'm sorry. It's just, it is like a dumpster fire floating down the river, down a flood. I mean, it is bad. I got rated 100%, and before I had two CMP exams scheduled, should I still? You should still go, because each time that you say no, that gives another opportunity for QRT. Because what will happen is this VSR will try to contact you. They'll put in a note. They can have a quality review. Up to 7 days later, they'll try calling you again. That VSR will, attempt to do something. Well, that VSR can also have a quality review. You just give more opportunity for the QRT people to catch feelings about your claim. Like, I don't like my claim being under the eye of Sauron as little as I can help it. And the more that you deny the claim, it's got to go back and back. And, you know, you can try to well, no, you can't, because you've already been adjudicated. So I would just go to them. I really would. So I hope that helps. You don't have to listen to me, but if you don't go to your CMP exams, it can come back to haunt you. Okay. I am guilty as charged. Look, there are some QRT, and now this is going to be the worst thing that I ever say in my entire life. There are some QRT that if they were choking to death and I was the only one around them, I would probably play a game of solitaire before I started to give a crap. Because there is something to be said about people with unbridled power and zero empathy. Like, some of these individuals do not deserve their job. They treat, like, some of the individuals are not good people. Some of the individuals are great people. Some of the individuals are idiots. But there's a lot of people who abuse their power and authority, and they get off on it. They get off on not only messing over the veteran, but they also get off on treating the staff, lording over the staff, calling errors when they're not even errors. It's heads I win, tails you lose. And that's the way QRT likes to work. Heads I win, tails you lose. I'm always right. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Heads I win, tails you lose. I'm always right. Me, how I feel about things. And it's not about the law, it's not about rules, it's not about regulations, and it's not about fairness. And I've seen horrible things where husbands cover for wives. Husbands who are QRT cover for their wives. Make errors go away. Abuse their power and authority in ways that are disturbing. And none of it's for the veteran's advantage. None of it's veteran centric. It's always in the self-preservation. And I despise it. So yes, do I hate them? I don't hate all of them. Could they fall down every stair and I just not care? Yeah. Are they a needed component of the process? No. No, because they give worse information than if I could get a janitor, put him at a computer, and tell him to just mash that there button. And we would probably have sometimes some of the same outcomes that QRT gives us. I'll give you an example. I mean, I've given this example like 10 times, but I one time got 2 errors on the same claim, both from doing what QRT said, and they both told me to do opposite things. They lack deductive reasoning. They're just, it's fear-based, action-taken people that do things out of fear, out of ignorance. And if anything, QRT is one of the positions that reminds me of that. You know, when people think of federal employees and how they're there to, you know, they've got their cup of coffee and they barely do anything and stuff like that. That's the way I think about QRT. And now they do a lot of work. I'm not going to say that they don't do a lot of work, but they do a lot of busy work. I mean, I wish that Doug Collins would review how many times QRT's errors, and I'm doing air quotes here, how many times their errors get overturned because they're factually inaccurate. And they're paid GS-12s and 13s, guys. I mean, 6-figure fools here. I mean, people that I wouldn't let walk my dogs because I'd be scared that my dogs wouldn't come back. I mean, these are individuals that I wonder sometimes how they feed themselves. 6 figures. That's what they're getting. Plus overtime. It's not like somebody had brought up Doge earlier, and I'm not the biggest fan of Doge because Doge embodies people that don't know what's going on changing things just to say that they change things. But Doge had one thing right, and they should have went to the QRT and say, why do we pay you? What benefit are you providing? How accurate are you? The people that are supposed to be reviewing accuracy for others, how accurate are you? And it's just a horrible system. The quality and production system for the VA, it just makes hurdles, barriers, red tape. I mean, it's like a red tape-a-palooza. You have to defer this back and you can't rate this. Why? The veteran doesn't have element 2. They don't have an in-service event for direct. There's no other theory that could apply. Well, you didn't give them the duty to assist. Will it matter? No, it won't, but we have to do it. So we've got to delay this claim 30 days for no reason other than to check a box that will not help this veteran. We're going to deny them the 30 days opportunity to be notified of this and come up with some kind of defense or, you know, fix the claim or whatever. Yes. Why are we doing this? Like, there's no value added to it. And I hate it. I hate it more than you know. So yes, I have a disdain for QRT, and I wish that the entire program would be scrapped. I wish AI would do it and just say, did you, you know, there's a lot of things that AI could do on this. Did you pull the Capri? I mean, Capri gets pulled automatically now, so it doesn't matter. But, you know, did you upload the, you know, the 4142 alpha? Where's the evidence of it? You know, like AI can do that. But anyway. Okay. I had a knee injury while I was in the military. The school took me to ER. My unit didn't want to finish the LOD. I have only the initial LOD paperwork, lay statement, buddy statement, and hopefully the ER visit. Now, the ER visit, the medical visit itself, if you were taken to the emergency room while you were being paid by the government, that is fine to prove that you have element 2. Okay. So that should be fine. Plus the initial paperwork. You don't need an LOD. An LOD is nice because it wraps everything up in a bow for the rater, but there's M21 manual references that say that, you know, we can use other things. When you file a new claim, does it open all of your connected conditions for review? Only, Chris, It depends on how you word your secondaries. There's a difference between saying, I have sleep apnea due to weight gain from PTSD. That would not open up anything in and of itself. But if you say, well, my PTSD has gotten so much worse that it's caused me to gain weight, and my weight gain has caused my sleep apnea. By you saying that your PTSD has gotten worse, it opens the door for the VSR to say, oh, that's a claim for increase. So you have to be very cautious in how you word things because the VSR is going to be neurotic about trying to catch any kind of statements for increase. So just be neutral. How do you get the VSR or our VSRs to acknowledge your private DBQ and private medical opinion evidence? If they don't, can I resubmit the supplemental claim? Okay, so how do you acknowledge it? All right, you have to go through, and I might do a video on this, but you have to go through and you have to double, triple check every single regulation for authenticity, credibility, and sufficiency. And you have to make sure that all of your evidence is dress right dress, that all of the examiner's evidence is dress right dress, that the DBQ and medical opinion are deemed sufficient for rating purposes, that they do not have any medical conflictions in them. You have to look up the NPI number of the examiner, and you have to make sure that the information that they put on the actual forms for their credentials, their licensure, their everything, that it matches the NPI number, that it matches the medical number, that everything matches, everything lines up. It's the weirdest thing I've ever had to see where you have to prove the credentials of the person more than you have to prove the disability. It's the weirdest thing. And they just hate, they hate it. But what can you do if they don't acknowledge your private DBQ and private medical opinion? Then one of the things that you can do is after you're denied, you can do a higher level review and just request to see, why was my stuff deemed insufficient? Why was my DBQ deemed insufficient? Why was my medical opinion deemed insufficient? Dro, please, and do an informal conference and ask them, please explain to me what I would need to do to correct to make it sufficient. And the reason why you want to do that is because if they answer you, then ask them to put that in the 0999 form. So that way it can be referenced in the future, that if you take those actions, then the future VSR and the future rater should consider it to have been now sufficient if you can fix those. So that's my 2 cents on it. Sleep apnea secondary to sinusitis. You guys are killing me with this. It's not, I mean, I've seen it granted historically, maybe 10% of the time, but it's not a strong theory. So you have to bring a lot of science and have a lot of solid medical opinion. So anxiety. Okay. So anxiety, Terry, I talk about this in one of the videos, and I hate to say that because I know that there's another person that says that out in the content community. I got a video for that. I'm just teasing. But I did do a video about this where I talk about boiling down to the symptom level. Like, do you have night terrors? Do you have, are you on medications that could cause sleep apnea? Those are some of the things that you want to look at, Terry, is, what service connection, and I wouldn't limit it to anxiety. What medications am I on for my service connected conditions, and do some research to see if any of those cause sleep apnea, because sometimes they do. If you're on, like, let's say a muscle relaxer for your back, I've seen that granted. I've granted that myself. If you're on a chronic muscle relaxer that you're going to have forever, fair enough. But you can also, George, kill me. OSA to anxiety, though, can also be due to arousals in the middle of the night. So if you have nocturnal panic attacks, that could also potentially cause it. So what you kind of need to do is you need to figure out what the evidence supports and what it doesn't support, and then try to get your doctor on board with whatever the evidence supports. So if you have a medication that can cause sleep apnea, then I'd start to see when was I actually prescribed that medication, and did it happen before I was diagnosed with sleep apnea? If so, that's a pretty solid chronological theory for secondary. And how you would claim it is sleep apnea secondary to this medication, which is prescribed for service connected so and so. So that's how I would do it. Current diagnosis and the CMP came in my favor and still got denied. Why? Okay, so this is a common thing. And I've talked about this also beforehand, but it's fine. What can happen is the examiner, depending on what you're going for, the examiner can say, well, wait a minute. I see that you had a knee injury back in service, but you know what? I don't think that that knee injury itself would have created a chronic disability. And they actually, hold on. I'm going to rephrase that because I'm actually going about this the wrong way. Reset. So what happened is that the examiner made a determination, but maybe element 2 was not supported. Like they said, oh, it's due to ruck marches or something like that. Like your knee, let's say your pes planus is due to ruck marches in your boots. Well, unfortunately, ruck marches in the boots do not count to satisfy element 2. So even though the examiner gave a positive medical opinion for that, the rater would be at issue with it because the examiner has to point to something in the medical record that can be cited and referenced specifically in some kind of documentation from the military showing that you had an in-service issue with your feet, for the pes planus example. But that's how I would say it was. And I can't. Okay. Before I got the 100%, I was in the mindset of going to 2 more CMP exams. These are solid exams, but now 100% didn't know what to do with those 2 pending. Yeah, I would just go to them. The only issue I can think of is that I did not submit my back and neck MRI. Maybe, yeah, especially if the back MRI and neck MRI, if those 2 things can prove or disprove a matter at issue, like element 1, because that's all you're really looking for is element 1 for a current MRI. Yeah, that would be, I can understand that. Okay, what time is it? I'm 56 minutes behind on the question. So, all right. Oh, okay. I hope that they were good. And I'm going to not say your name because I say it wrong every single time. And I saw that you mentioned that, so I'm not going to say it. It was one condition, PTSD 70%, review IU, examiner gave 70% criteria and 4 agree checks for IU solely for PTSD. Yeah, then what I would do, Justin, so here's what I would do. I would do a new claim and claim SMCS1. Just claim that. And claim it and just say missed issue and then whatever the rating decision date is. But yeah, you're fine. That's good. Yeah, you're valid. That's all valid then. Just looked it up and the Google says that POI means VA initiated a period of improvement. I've never heard of that. Oh no, I have. Oh no. No. That is rare. No. For your medical condition, does that? Oh my gosh. No, that's okay. That's like, are you on the 5-year rule? I'm going to be watching in the chat here. Is that, are you in the 5-year rule? Like, have you had this condition for 5 years? I'm going to wait and see if you answer. Have you had the condition that is currently on the POI thing for 5 years? Because what we're talking about here is we're talking about if you had, like, let's say the condition was 5, less than 5 years, and you showed some kind of period of improvement. If it's sustained improvement, if it's less than 5 years, they can just reduce it. If it's more than 5 years and you have a period of improvement, then that's strike one. They need 2 separate examinations if you've had the condition for over 5 years for them to reduce it. But that would be strike one. So that's scary. But I don't understand why it would be secondary to mental health. That's weird. Okay. I'm just going to say Bo. My very first claim was submitted by a shark. Bark, bark. Company before I knew anything about the VA disability process, and they filed it without any supporting evidence. Fantastic work, by the way. They sometimes do that. I hate that. Now I've got to go through everything. Yep, and unfortunately you do. And I'm sorry for that. If you ever need anything, just email me. I'll look for your email. And I'm not going to make any guarantees, but if you need like questions, just I'll make a conscious effort to look for your email. All right, Justin. Yeah, but I think I answered it. I think you're fine. I think you just need to do, Justin, I just think you need to do the a new claim for SMCS1. Actually, let me ask you a question. You've got other things that add up to the 60%, right? Because that's the secondary criteria. What is the typical length of study? Jesus, no clue on earth and under heaven. The typical, I sometimes would say this to my kids. What time's mom getting home? When she walks through the door. That's kind of what we're dealing with here. As soon as you get it in your hands, that's whenever it's done. And I don't mean to say that like it's funny, haha, or anything like that, but there's just no rhyme or reason to how long it takes. Okay, I'll put that in the chat. And guys, just keep in mind, I'm getting hundreds of these a day, so I'm not even barely scratching the surface. But there, I put it in the chat. Okay, so let's see here. Question: my hearing loss was denied for no disability, but my entrance test versus exit exam shows a 20 decibel change. Unfortunately, it's got to be 40 decibels. So you've got to have a 15 to 50 is fine. 6K doesn't count. So the only thing that the VA counts is 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000. That's it. 5,000 and 6,000, they don't care about. It's not for VA purposes. So unfortunately, you don't get, the 50 in the 6K doesn't count. You would need to have a 40 in either the 500,000, 2,000, or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 range. All right. Feel free to like and subscribe if you're here and just having fun. Is it a good thing if I was initially denied based upon in-service event, did a higher-level review, and they determined that there was a duty to assist error? Maybe. What they might be doing is they might be doing a Terra review or something like that, where they're just kind of checking boxes for any missed theories that should have gotten exams, which might not actually be helpful because it might be, your Terra could be lead, and there's no way on earth and under heaven that, your condition was caused by lead. So. Robert, my advice is to complain about everything tonight. Everything that's humanly wrong with you. You claim that you report that now. You report that today. Like if you got to go to urgent care, you go to urgent care. Sitting here with you has been outstanding. Robert, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to my voice. It's too easy. Go to the doctor. Do it now. Clicked on the wrong one. All right. Thank you for the 100%. Hold on. Let me 507. Jeez. I'm not really getting through these. All right. So, Ahmed, thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. Every penny counts and helps, and I appreciate it. I mean, it supports the channel. Had a knee injury. Okay, wait. This I already answered this one. Okay, so I don't understand why it didn't show up as. That's weird. But I already answered this one. So you technically don't need a line of duty to satisfy element 2. But yeah, definitely. And then I don't know why my star stuff is not showing up. So Cajun Pacific, thank you for becoming a member. And Echo also became a member too. I appreciate that. I don't know why that's not actually showing up. So 507. Autocorrect. Colitis increase denied. Submitted private medical record included active meds, which listed immune suppressant. RFD. Active meds only listed, which is not an immunosuppressant. Wait to take action. I would wait to take action until everything's done and then just probably do a higher level review and point to it. Can I get my knees, feet, and ankles secondary to my back? I already answered this, but no, it's going to be challenging. And the only reason why I say that is because VA examiners like to, your ankles cause your knees and your knees cause your hips. They like to go upwards because it causes, like, if a disability is lower on the extremity, that can cause you to have an abnormal gait. It's true that your back can cause you to potentially have an abnormal gait, but it's not the same, I guess. But it's possible, yes. My CMP examiner for vertigo actually told me I should file for TBI, but in the denial, it says the examiner opined that my condition wasn't related to Terra exposure. Yeah, because they probably feel like it was due to TBI, is where we're probably going with that. So, Raider, after Terra interview, I received a letter from the VA inviting me to file a claim for my toxic exposure. No. Nope. That's not what that means. That just means that you might have a presumptive condition. So I would go through and I would review your current diagnosed conditions. I would look to see, I would go to a VSO and check your DBQs that you filled out for your current claim. And then I would talk and see if they had any other disabilities that they identified. I don't understand that, because if it was a presumptive condition, it should have been raised to issue. Maybe there wasn't a diagnosis. I don't know. It seems like that's bizarre. But the VA is doing weird things currently. Like, VSRs are doing the weirdest things. Hey, Raider, what's your thoughts on veteran AI getting a contract? I actually like the idea. Hopefully just because the AI portion of it can help you format your thoughts to some degree. It's like any tool, and I explained this with the RV analogy. Like, you don't want to put autopilot and have the thing do it for you. Nobody should be doing that. But it's a good support thing to organize. You know, if you want to organize your personal statement in such a way, I would agree with that. Like, that would be fine for me. I'm fine with them, allowing you just being another website where you can submit a claim. There are already those things out there, so I don't see it as egregious. Why are C files not digital for download? I don't know. I mean, it's driving me nuts. Leroy Jenkins 2.0. Wow. Just went to my depression and anxiety CMP exam today, secondary to migraines. PTSD claim was denied recently. Examiner stated, I'm also showing symptoms for PTSD besides. Examiner asked me if I'm okay for him to submit depression, anxiety, and PTSD back to the VA instead of just depression and anxiety only. Will the VA take it? I mean, the VA will take it, but what's the primary condition? If anxiety and depression are subsumed under PTSD, then that's a bad thing. That would be bad for you. So just keep that in mind. If they're separate, like you have depression, anxiety, and PTSD, if they're medically separated, then it should be fine. How often is someone checking raters on that level? 3 times a month they're checking raters. How do I file Meniere's claim? I have Terra for noise and jet fuel. I'm going to file direct via Terra. Actually, you're going to file via Terra. Direct is a different theory, core. I need to say which Terra exposure caused my Meniere's, or just keep it general. You need to specifically list what Terra exposures you have and say, I'm claiming my Meniere's due to Terra. I was exposed to these Terras, and then let the doctor sort that out. Also, for my Nexus letter, do I need to choose noise or jet fuel? For noise can't cause Meniere's. Terra can cause Meniere's, to the best of my knowledge. So I would go with Terra. And I explained how you had a I explained that already. Hey Raider, thanks for getting to my question on video 5. Got a CMP tomorrow for GERD, OSA is supplemental appeal for PAN secondary. Wish me luck. Good luck. How do I get a new set of eyes? Third-party vendor for a supplemental claim. Well, you would fill out a VA form 21-4138, and you would explicitly request to have a different vendor complete your claim, like QTC, VES, LHI, LSGS. Doctor states no correlation between the feet and respiratory system, has never had a good foot massage. Wow, nice. All right. I'm going to be doing a video on this. So in the next couple days, I'm going to be doing a video about increase claims. So I'm going to specifically talk about increase claims, what to do, what not to do, what form you should fill out, everything. So no, this is not the first one, AA Ron. This is not it. I've done it 3 times now, I think. How rare is it for Raiders to input willful misconduct for claims? Oh, geez. Christian. For them to input willful misconduct, for them to report it and identify it, that is rare. And that is, if you have a clean DD 214 for your service record, then somebody caught feelings. Someone caught feelings about something you did, and that is bad. I would double check that. That is not good. Raider, I saw 2 different doctors for anxiety and PTSD. Why would the Raider send both claims back to the doctor for clarification? Because they're subsumed. They can be subsumed into one thing. Not funny business, but what'll happen is the anxiety and the PTSD symptoms might not line up. So they're going to ask them to please come together and figure it out and come to a consensus. You two doctors. Also, if my foot is rated at 20%, which is rare, and my knee is at 10%, both direct service connection, what would be better one to list as the primary to a secondary claim for my left knee to knee, joint to joint. So I like personally, and I have seen a lot of success. Now, this you're going to have to weigh this against the truth of your circumstance, right? If you have it to where your foot is the primary thing, then stick with it. But if knee to knee, like you having to kind of rely on the non-dominant knee because your dominant knee is injured and you're favoring it, that makes sense to examiners. Like left shoulder, right shoulder. Like, like you're having to favor the one which causes you to overuse the other. That makes sense. And this is true. This is true. And this is why I'm hoping that, you know, maybe if you can get with a accredited claims agent or something, maybe they'll, review your stuff. I don't know. I understand this to be a fact of the matter. And oh my gosh, Jarhead. Oh, this is so cool, guys. Like Jarhead. Awesome. And you're screwed. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Every little bit helps, guys. I will keep up the good work. Now I don't know where I left off because I clicked off of it, but we'll come down here. I think I went too far. Yeah, I did. Hold on. Going around the horn. Jarhead. Yes. Okay. So blue state corruption. I don't know about that. Yeah, show me some love. The kerfuffle. I like the kerfuffle. It has been so weird taking a few days off and having to come back. Just getting into the swing of things is weird. Bro, my military schooling skipped kerfuffle. You were issued kerfuffle. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean it. Hi, MCM. Will I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. San Juan is horrible. VA needs an external review. Puerto Rico is the worst. I will not disagree with that. They have got, I would say, like Godzilla level problems over there. The wisest money spent would be to educate VSOs, and I talked about this briefly. So with quality period and government shutdown coinciding, now when is the best time to file a claim? I mean, it is a burning dumpster fire and a flood, so we have to be cautious, guys. But it's not when at this point, it's how. So I'm just gonna let me see here, 5:30. Gonna keep that up. So I'm gonna put this out for very important. Right now, we don't know how long the actual government shutdown is going to take. So we still need to file claims. But what we need to do is we need to not make them large unless they're BDD. We need to keep them at 5, 6 contentions at the most. Make sure that your evidence is locked down. I mean, you guys have got to make sure that everything is dress right dress. More now than ever. With scandals, with government shutdown, with the quality burn, with different things, right? So you need to do these things. You need to make sure that everything is prepared. You want to make sure that all the evidence is front loaded into your claim that you need. I wouldn't leave anything to chance, guys. I honestly wouldn't. Is it going to get better? Maybe, maybe not. but it'll probably get better in 2 years after they hire people and they get trained up because we've lost so many people. All the skill has left because they've pushed it out. So that's my advice. And you're screwed. Again, Rater on a higher level review, and I'm not sure about on a supplemental claim, but the higher level review does not allow uploading of documents to rationalize my claim thoughts. It does not. But guess what? You can potentially upload those documents before you file your higher level review. And technically, you can at least have them of record to reference them in the informal conference. So, now another misconception is if something is dated on or before the rating decision that occurred, that evidence is time-stamped for it's still within the scope. So just keep that in mind too. If it's time-stamped for that period, it would count. So yeah. I don't know where I am. All right, thank goodness I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, or else this government shutdown would suck. Hope all government employees are staying afloat. They're not. Like, there's food pantries. Like, it's bad. Like, it's bad in different areas. I've heard there's food pantries that are opening up for family members. There's just weird stuff because people, just some of them, didn't live within their means, and they kind of, yeah, they're hurting because of it. Can you mention the Google extension for the VA website? It shows a lot of it. I don't see. I'll have to get back to you on this. I might put this out. I don't want to speak to it because I will get it wrong. I'm not very tech savvy. What time frame about Philly? So, and I think I already answered this, but it's 2022 to 2024. The time frame for them reviewing the claims could be any time. Our office had 2 personal grants and 3 pension grants. Now you tell me if I have to be concerned about these. Yes, you do have to be concerned about these. So you have to double, triple check the rating decisions and double, triple check MCM. You have to double, triple check the rating decisions. Make sure everything looks normal. I would double check the DBQs and the medical opinions to make sure everything looks normal on these. At least for the non-pension grants. Pension grants might be a little bit different. You probably know more about pension grants than I do because I mean that's part of the pension department, and I'm not part of that. I don't know. Asked if I had a list of private doctors for DBQs. Was told they are no longer legal. Who told you that? Yeah, Ron, could you square them away, please? I'll get to it, Mante. But who told you this? Oof. Better not be anybody with any power or authority because that would be sucky. Raider, if you were not in the military during the time frame I deployed during, how does that work? Oh, it works as in you just had it retroactively goes into effect. So you were exposed to Terra. Potentially. Desert Storm, Desert Shield still counts for 38 CFR 3.320, 3.317. It also counts for Terra. You're retroactively, Terras that you were exposed to would count. Okay, thanks. Claim to, yes, that thing. It wasn't very clear. If the VA requests something and gives you 30 days, if you respond sooner, is there a message sent? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends on what it is. If it's a 5103 acknowledgement, yes. If it's not, then no, typically. And thank you, Deke, for logging them. Do you know if the claims affected are just compensation or the DIC claims? Oh, you mean for Philly? I think they're compensation, to be quite honest with you. I don't know off the top of my head. I really don't know. So it could be anything. We don't know. It's probably not going to stop. So even if that authorizer was part of, uh, a certain claim type, it's not going to stop with that. It's honestly, they're going to get a full review, sadly enough. Um, can you file a claim with no records and no diagnosis and get service connected and diagnosis at the CMP exam? Uh, I mean, technically, yes. Technically. So the technical part of it would be you'd have to say symptoms that you're experiencing in order to satisfy element one to get an examination. You would also need to have some kind of evidence linking you to service somehow for the theory that you're claiming. But yes, it is possible. And there we go. We finally got to it. CUNE against me, PTSD, but diagnosed with other specified trauma disorder. 30% awarded. PTSD case study does not apply. So okay. You had a CUNE against you because the evidence for like the actual scientific evidence that you submitted was for PTSD and not other specified trauma disorder. Is that right? Or is it that did you claim this due to fear-based? Was this a fear-based claim? Oh wait, I'm looking in the flowing chat. Deke. Here, I'm just gonna put this. Deke, please pull Monte Moore's question at 5:36 for me to do in the video. Hopefully you can get back to me with some more information there. Okay, having my first call with a VSO, what should I know? Well, I mean, you should know that they're there to help you. And thank you, Deke. They're there to help you submit your paperwork, give you some general overview guidance on how the process works. And, honestly, but I will need that information though, Manti. You need to know kind of how, like, ask them questions, have questions up front. If you have questions, present them to the VSO so that way they can answer you. Try to be as informed about your current situation. Do you have a diagnosis for it? Do you have, this, that, the other? Going into it, the more information that you can provide them, the better prepared that they're going to be and the better their answers are going to be. So if you go in there just saying, hey, I need help, so and so, you're making their job a lot harder. But yeah, so that's my advice. 5:36. Disrobed, thank you. I'm way behind on the live stream, but it was just Nexus letters. Some accepted, but one deemed the nurse practitioner's opinion was more persuasive. Thanks. Okay. And then JR, CMP next week. Wish me luck. I feel, yes, awesome. Good luck. I don't know why these are showing up late. I had something really bad happen to my computer in which it fell over and part of it broke inside. I think on the motherboard. There are pieces laying in the bottom of my old Ass Tower. So it's not so I'm surprised that we're even up and running right now. Let me see here. So trying to find my spot again. It was supposed to be 36. So 36. Okay, there we go. Since you are a one-person operation, maybe try your best to rapid fire questions like CivDiv and not spend time with follow-up videos for the questions. Has to be a lot of full-time for a full-time employee. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you right now, right? Like, I'm just going to tell you, if I did a rapid fire, right? I sometimes get some questions a little bit wrong, and I already feel bad, but I don't want to get the questions wrong. So I would rather, me just doing off the cuff answers, because I'm kind of doing off the cuff answers right now. But I want to make sure that the answers that I give are value added, right? That they're thought out a little bit, that they're that we're just trying to make sure that it's not fluff. And I'm not saying the CivDiv is fluff. I like the CivDiv, he does a great job. I just I don't know. And I've only been doing a YouTuber thing for what, 3 months now? So I'm still kind of learning the ropes and learning what works best for me. I like the videos though, because I can kind of address them and I'm not feeling rushed. So the more rushed I am, the more distracted I am. It's the curse of the VA, right? Like that's how I know, George. Throwing my PC while I'm ranting is definitely getting me in trouble. If I have 10% tinnitus and had a percent for migraines that was service connected, then they turn around and took the migraines away. Can I still file for its secondary tinnitus? I mean, technically you can. I'd want to know why they took it away. Because if they took it away for no medical opinion, you can just get a new medical opinion and, you were historically granted for it. So that might be a good thing. Are they denying claims because of Nexus letters that are coming from? Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. No exception. Yes. The VA QRT is even suggesting it. Like they're leaning into that. Nexus letters themselves, I dislike that term just because it's misleading. If you're talking about private medical opinions from private doctors, then yes, they are definitely kicking those away. Just for the 100 miles as fraud. So yeah, they're doing a lot more than that though. Medical problems associated with anthrax vaccine back in 2001, 2003. I mean, science. You will have to science that one pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, technically, could it be? Yeah, residuals could be, but you'd have to have residuals that are explicitly dictated as being caused by them. How long can you be at step 7 realistically? Forever. You can literally be there forever. There is no, I mean, yeah, there's no guarantee. My intent to file was 2015 for sleep apnea. They decided on the date of April of 22, maybe based upon diagnosis. I don't know. That's a long time. Like this sounds like a BVA appeal, to be quite honest with you. There's no time period. Like that's a long time. Jack Frost, you might need to put a more to that question. Forever. Okay, I'm trying to find questions here. I haven't reported the QRTs to OIG because the VA kisses the ground that they walk on. They do. It's so horrible. Because they're like, oh man, they're so, without these guys, we wouldn't be doing anything. And then I say the words wrong. And I don't mean that, but I mean that, they're not helpful. It's like, okay, actually, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. I'd like to take this time to give you an analogy as to what QRT is. QRT QRT is the butter bar of the VA. And they're not only the butter bar of the VA, but they're the butter bar that's been given more authority than they should be. So they're running the company right now. So they, I mean, have any of you ever met a butter bar, right? That's trying to tell the first sergeant what to do. That's what QRT is like because QRT typically doesn't know how to actually adjudicate, rate a claim. They don't know how to process a claim. They don't know how to rate a claim. They know what to do, but they don't know how to do it. And I've gotten into actual, like, I hurt somebody's feelings one time because they said, well, I rate claims. And I'm like, no, you don't. You go to the evaluation builder and you just plug in what the DBQ says. And if it comes out to be the same thing, then you've rated a claim. You've never had to go in, sort out the effective date. You've never had to do any of that. So those aren't the same things, and they were never in the military, and I called them a butter bar, and then they didn't know what that was, but I guess somebody told them what it was and how it was probably meant to be the most derogatory thing that I could have said to them. And they got really mad at me, but um, I don't care because I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Like, this is, once again, they can all fall down every stair, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, they're always right. They want the respect without earning it. Like, they make these swath decisions like, okay, actually, I know that these are what the words of the CFR say, but we're not going to listen to that. We're going to come over here to pretend land, and then we're going to play pretend for a while. And the first thing that I've ever taught any VSR or any rater I've ever taught is the first thing that they should do is stop listening to QRT. The moment you stop listening to QRT is the moment that your quality score goes way up because you're not getting errors because some dipstick told you to do the wrong thing because they can. And that's the funny thing about QRT. It would be different if you could say, like, if QRT told you to do something and you got an error and you said, well, wait a minute, QRT told me to do that. And they go, oh, okay, well, we'll absolve you of that. No, that's not true. You can still get an error if you do what they tell you to do. If they tell you to do something, you can still get an error for doing it because the manual and the CFR win. Their opinion doesn't matter. So why are they even there? They're not. There's no purpose if their statements hold no weight. If they have no value added to the point that they not even their own words can be used in defense of anything. Why are they even there? I dislike them, guys. There's like, do you know how many of these people are there? GS12s. I mean, how many raiders are GS12s? Like, you have ROs with hundreds of raiders and probably like 30 maybe QRT between the 12s and the 13s. I mean, that's a lot of money. At least the raiders get the excuse of, like, they're actually doing something in the day. Like, a lot of QRT people, what they do is they do training some of the time, and the other time they're calling frivolous errors. I mean, sometimes they're calling legitimate errors. You know, I mean, there are times like staff screw up. I mean, it's fair, but most of the time it's just frivolous errors, and I hate it. I despise it. But let's see here. Let me look over here. I want to check something real quick. Oh man. Okay. So Oh man, I've lost my spot. I went to Crazy Town. Okay, there we go. Um, I take biologics now for the Crohn's and infusions for anemia associated with Crohn's, but I'm not sure where these things stack up on what I'm being rated for. I think I missed something. Hey, Rare, thank you for what you do. I'm going through the MEB for Crohn's. Okay. I had a bowel resection. Okay. Sometimes the pancreatic might be able to be separately. The bowel resection, you'll get a scar and you'll get the Crohn's. You'll also probably get the anemia separately rated. I mean, so there is possibility for a few of these. It'll depend on how the DBQ goes. Red Tape-a-palooza. Oh yeah, sorry guys. Capri is the internal terminology for so okay. The VHA itself calls their records was it C no Capri, Cypress, CPRS. Yeah, it's CPRS. So the VHA's records of you, the VHA calls CPRS. The VBA's version of those records are called Capri. So anytime you hear Capri records, they're talking about VA medical records, not not what do you call it? Not community outreach or whatever the heck it is. Community care, not community care. Those are separate records, but yeah. When you file for TDIU, does it open up all service connection for review? Everything that you put on the, was it 8940 form? And anything, the TDIU form that you put on there that you say, this causes me to have, disability, unable to work, all of those will be opened and they will be given increase exams. 2023, 8th month, de facto court. Oh, geez, wow. Okay, 2-month Atlanta VAMC ICU plus 6 months VAT TP hotel. Oof. If you're hospitalized for a VA disability, yes, it has to be over 28 days or 21 days. Sorry, it has to be over 21 days. But yes, you can be temporary 100% for hospitalization for VA, for any kind of VA disability. It's under. I want to say it's under 38 CFR 4.29 or 4.30, whichever convalescence it's under. It would be under, I think it's 4.29 off the top of my head. Speaking of sleep apnea, what about sleep apnea secondary to sinusitis? I said it's rare. It's a unicorn. Is it normal for the VA to request a form 21-4192 after I submitted an increase for my migraines? No. It's not, because that form's typically associated with IU. So that's kind of weird. Understanding that regional offices closed during government shutdown and you receive a rating decision during this time, how do you go about getting a copy? Yeah, and I already answered this one too, Rodney. You got to go, at best, getting a copy would mean looking at it and seeing if the VSO will let you look at it. I mean, that's about it currently. Just got 100% PNT. Woohoo! VA says it was all terror related, even stuff like OSA and FSAD. Wow, congratulations, which wasn't in my claim or private DBQs. It was just raised to issue. Effective dates are wrong, but they approved all in 10 days. I'm afraid to appeal. I would also be afraid to appeal. Now, this is the truth. You have to have been diagnosed with the condition before 8/10 of 2022 for you to get the earlier effective date due to TARA granting. Now, if you're saying that the effective dates are wrong because of an intent to file or something like that, that's different. But if you're saying that you were granted under TARA and you were given not the year prior intent to file like you think you're supposed to be, then you have to have been diagnosed before 8/10 of 2022. If that's not the case, then you technically, per them, do not warrant having a earlier effective date. When filing a BDD claim and upload supporting evidence, does the VA have access to STRs? No. That is why, no, they will not have access to STRs until the day after, well, actually 45 days minimum after you've released from active duty, because they have to out process you. And then during the out processing, that's whenever, those STRs will be accumulated and those STRs will be disseminated out through the HAMS system. So that's why part of the BDD process is for you to submit your STRs with the application, so that way they can be reviewed. Oh yeah, there are a couple of them. Are certain temp jurisdictions known for better quality and performance than others? No. The moment I say one RO is better than another is the day in which the biggest scandal known to man comes out for it, and I'm going to be just slack-jawed, confused, and you guys are going to be like, I'm not going to listen to him. He believes that this place here that was setting babies on fire, that this is a good place. Like it'll be something like that. So no, I have no opinion. I can just tell you that Waco and Phoenix are not my favorites by any means. Like I got into it with a couple of VSRs from there. On tonight's claim, they concede elements 1 and 2, but deny element 3. How can that be? Well, that can be that it has nothing to do with that. Okay, so element 3 is the medical link between tinnitus and service. So you can have tinnitus now. You could have had complaints in service of noise exposure, but the doctor has to concede, the audiologist has to concede that your noise exposure caused your current tinnitus. And that's what element 3 is in that case. And that's the problem. Okay, AF, did you have your diagnoses before in your original claim? Keeping it active is not the same as having the date the entitlement arose. So under 38 CFR 3.2501, that is the CFR 3.2501, where they say that's what limits a supplemental claim to when the effective date can be. Let me see here. So I'm sorry for that. How about OS? Jesus. Jarhead, you got me. You got me to curse a little bit. So you had a diagnosis beforehand, then you might have something there. If but your diagnosis had to be before COVID, COVID, before the PACT Act, 8/10 of 2022. Sorry. You got me with the fatty liver. Decision letter says you originally opted into the higher level review claim lane. During your review of your claim, it was discovered additional development was required. Therefore, your claim was transferred to the supplemental claim lane. Can I do a higher level review? No. You would want to do a higher level review after this claim, because they're saying that you probably have a good shot at a supplemental claim is what they're trying to, I think, say to you. Raider, are VA meds lists important? Yeah, sometimes. If you go into the 38 CFR Part 4, sometimes you'll see like sleep apnea doesn't matter what meds you're on. Your back condition doesn't matter what meds you're on. Your shoulder, 38 CFR, the rating scheduler medications matter for like asthma, but not for bronchitis, which is weird. Right? Like it's very unique. So meds matter for certain conditions. It's okay. It's okay, Jarhead. On Flexeril, gabapentin, ibuprofen. So yeah, I would research those for sleep apnea. OSA secondary to my better half, constant nagging and beating me up. Fair. When a higher level review sends back for another CMP exam but doesn't need you to physically be there, that means medical opinion. 100% of the time, they're only going for a medical opinion. That's what that is. I mean, I guess, or an ACE exam sometimes, like an ACE in which you don't need to be there. So, hypertension is probably the only time that I can think of that would be a valid ACE that you wouldn't need to attend. But the lion's share of the time, we're dealing with a medical opinion. Um. All right, guys, I'm about spent here. I'm going to be giving it about 15 minutes, and then I'm done for the night. Um, Let me see here. Did anybody else? Oh, okay. MCM, thanks as always for the great info. Just a little bit towards the fund, the coffee fund. Yes, yes. We also need that coffee money. We need those. We need that sponsorship from somebody in Coffee Town, USA. I need you. Chance, 11 Charlie paratrooper was denied flat feet due to no service evidence. CMP said he had it. Can he file? What? CMP said he had it. Can he file for higher level review if he didn't take his MOS into account? Not MOS, but actual parachute jumps. If we're saying that the parachute jumps injured the feet, the arches of the feet, then potentially, yes. But it's hard to prove that, Chance. But yes, a higher level review could get you a new exam. And then we have Terrence. I have 100 on COPD and mental health, 30% on ankle. Wow. That's insane. Maybe. Maybe. Review my live stream about me going through the CMP. I know. Review that CMP. Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm starting to confuse my words here. Go through my live stream, my previous live stream in which I talk about SMC-R, and I go through the actual requirements. The requirements are written specifically in certain instances, so you want to make sure that you're definitely. Is it possible? Potentially. I don't know off the top of my head. All right, and then let me see here. I guess that's about it. So I'm going to take just a few minutes here. Dee, if you could culminate the questions, I will get to them, and I will put out filler videos. I'm going to make you guys kind of a promise here that I'm going to be putting out legitimate, like moving your claims forward type videos, talking about increases, talking about stuff like that, maybe some news stuff. And I'll try to make sure that answering these questions are not going to be the video of the day. They'll be just a supplemental video that happens also. So, oh, we got another person on. Back increase denied January 2025. I filed a few new claims throughout the year and got 90%. Filed a supplemental for the back and granted 100% due to radiculopathy. No back pay. RAD dated 2025. Okay, so on this one, if you had what RAD dated 2025? I don't know what that means, but I know release from active duty, but if that was true, then you would be, January would be not a good claim. Anyway, So what can happen is if you were denied for a back increase in January and they didn't find the peripheral neuropathy in that DBQ for that claim, the back pay wouldn't go back in time for the radiculopathy because the facts found would not be that there was radiculopathy at that time, or even that it was that severe potentially. There's a lot of moving parts to this one. I'm reluctant to say more than that on it, but um, I don't know if I would touch this. I mean, I get the fact that the back pay might be beneficial, but I don't know if I would monkey around with it too much if I were you. Now, let's talk about some things here because I have been on the road recently. I put out a few videos. Let me talk about the channel for a minute, for the next 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. So everything's going great, guys. We're currently at 5,908 subscribers, which is awesome. So we're growing really, really fast. This gets the message out, and I'm happy about that. What kind of videos? I think I'm going to put out a poll to ask you guys what kind of videos you want to see. I know I definitely have to kind of shore up finish my theories for service connection. I know I need to do some more on those. I'm going to be doing the increase exam potentially for Wednesday. It's today, Tuesday? Yeah, today's Tuesday. So maybe Thursday I'll do an increase exam on that day and start with the question and answers whenever Deke gets me the question and answers. There's no rush on that, by the way, Deke. Other than that, everything's kind of been moving forward. I'm trying to answer you guys' questions. I'm going to try to get to the emails a little bit more. But like I said beforehand, the emails are just honestly challenging because sometimes they're 20-minute long for me to research and answer. So just keep that in mind that, and I'm not trying to play favorites with them, but sometimes certain emails are easier to answer than others. And Richard, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm thinking about switching over to Ko-fi, KO-FI, for your guys' donations. So that way I get 100% of your donations pretty much. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. Well, you don't all have to answer at once, but it's kind of it would be replacing this right here, and it would be yeah, it's kind of a version of Patreon, Jarhead. It's Ko-fi, KO-FI. But I would switch for the money. Yes, I would switch because I don't know about giving YouTube 30% of everything that you guys give me. Yeah, I mean, or PayPal. I mean, I'm going to potentially be doing pay. I'll have different things on here just for you to donate to the channel if you want to. But yeah, other than that, I'm just gonna. I mean, my plan is to continue to put out content daily, a video or two daily. All right, Don. Sure, real quick. PTSD, CMP lady diagnosed anxiety and depression. My fault. I was super nervous and didn't promptly discuss nightmares avoidance. Supplemental? Maybe, maybe not. Did you claim it as fear based or was it due to something else? So it can potentially be not a lost cause if you're doing it due to direct service connection. So 30 feet. Fear. Okay. So yeah, you're going to have a problem with that because you need a diagnosis of PTSD. Now, if you have a diagnosis of PTSD within your VA records, I would submit that. I would try to get like if you believe that you have PTSD, you should go for PTSD through the VA. And yes, supplemental is probably going to be what you're going to have to do if you can. But it's fixable if you get a diagnosis of PTSD because the examiners typically will fall in line with, oh, the psychologist gave you a diagnosis of PTSD. Fair enough. You know, I don't know. But yeah, so I'm thinking about switching over to Kofi. I haven't really, let me look at my content here and let me look at my posts. Um, da, da, da. Where was that one video? Or where was that one post? Where's the poll one? The one with the poll. There we go. So this is, I guess I can show this. Let me add this real quick. I'll remove that from the studio and share my screen and share my window and share this one. So we got the poll back. 85% of you think that I should do, let me make sure. So let me just do this. 85% of you believe that I should train doctors and or companies without promoting myself. So I think we've left it up for quite a few days now. I think that that's going to seal the deal for what we're going to do. And if some, you know, I'm obviously going to screen these. These will not be an instant, sure, I will train you type situation. I'm, you know, not going to do that. So what'll happen is I'll be very picky about who I pick. And then I've got to count, like, when that comes up, I will be, you know, doing full disclosure, like, hey, look, and I'll probably put it on a post or something like that, not make it part of a video, not really announce it, but I'll just keep it to where you guys can reference it if you need to about who I am training. I don't know if that's important to you guys or not, or whatnot. Russell, real quick. Okay, real quick. Diagnosis 70%, PTSD 10% for asthma, bronchitis, but deferred sleep apnea, GERD, and partial colon removal for a medical opinion. Is that good or bad? I think it's good because especially for like the sleep apnea, if it's deferred for, you know, maybe it's a different medical opinion. We forgot to get Tara because a lot of these have to do potentially with Tara. So yeah. And what that would probably be is if you're granted for it, then your asthma, if you have a CPAP, like sleep apnea would be subsumed under asthma and bronchitis, and the higher of the three would be the primary. But GERD, you know, that's good. That could be 10%. Gallbladder, I don't know about because it would have to do with residuals. Weird. I mean, okay, guys, Discord is a great idea, but I don't know if I've got time to manage that. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, Discord to me is more scary than my email because I'd have to be in there constantly, right? I don't know because I'm sure. Okay, like here's the thing: Discord's just another place I've got to respond to in terms of because I'd want to answer your guys' questions, and you guys would have a lot of questions in the Discord. And I'd have questions on YouTube, I'd have questions in my email, and I have questions in my Discord. And that just to me, oof, it well, I mean, yeah, but it would be the questions, right? Like it would be that's the part that gets me though, is the answering of the questions. The videos are meant to do a lot of the heavy lifting on the answering of questions. That's why I put them out there. So I'll have to think about that. Let me think about it. But um, because I do have a couple of ideas. Like, I think it would be cool. Like, okay, if a Discord was done, I would probably rely heavily on like Jarhead and also potentially MCM and Jim, the VSOs, because they're pretty good at answering questions too. So, I mean, that would be just, I'd probably have to formally ask each of them. And, the people who are pretty good at, yeah, I do have a family, Rob. Your backgrounds. Well, okay, John, but the problem that I have is that my current disposition is that I'm never going to hide anything behind a paywall. That's my shtick. That's my that's my current line I won't cross because I'm honestly, guys, I'm tired of the veteran community having to pay and pay and pay and pay and pay and pay and pay for information. And when it should be given to them for free. So that's why, like I said, I wasn't going to do any kind of sponsorships other than that were related to some kind of advantage for the claims process. Now, coffee, y'all can fight me in the parking lot for coffee. I don't care what you think. Coffee is on the table for sponsorship and partnership. You guys just come a running. I'm happy here. And I will fight anyone in the parking lot over coffee. But for like claims related stuff, I understand that. And I'm not going to include that currently. I don't know. Thanks. I put in a supplemental for hearing was rated 5 days after CMP. Now a supplemental for shoulder has been. How do I send you money? No, you don't send me. I mean, I I don't know what that means. Like, if you want to donate to the channel, you can donate to the channel. Like, like if you want to send me money for coffee, that's fine. Yeah, don't hurt my soul with coffee. But so anyway, so that's about it. So I also am I was thinking honestly that there's this doctor, there's this other YouTuber out there, and he's thinking about doing no cost DBQs for veterans or low cost, low income type situation for veterans. And I might do a podcast with him. I don't know, guys. Like it's like a minefield in the YouTube community. Like I don't really want to step in one direction because I don't want to. Oh, he sold out. Look at him. He went over there. He did it. He's a demon. He did it. I don't want to promote bad actors, and I don't know who the bad actors are. But I definitely want to try to expand the channel and the channel's reach. And I do want to talk to other people. I like communicating. No, it's not Sharma currently. No, Sharma hasn't reached out to me or anything like that. But it's a different doctor. It's a doctor who's doing like they've got and I'll think about how to talk about this, but yeah, I wish honestly. I would be happy. Yeah, Dr. Pepper. I don't know, but it's just weird because I don't want to team up with somebody. Like, I might team up with the another small YouTuber that it doesn't have, like, they don't have any kind of, I don't know. I don't know. Like, just do live streams because I like to talk about things. Sometimes I like to just talk to people, and I like to read their emails because they give me ideas about topics to talk about. Because sometimes, and this is really crazy, guys, sometimes I have a lot of information that just I think everyone knows. Just because I've just been doing this forever. And it's yeah, just being a guest on somebody's channel or something like that, or just talking to things, talking to people about VA disability. And like, I want to talk to people, but sometimes I hold myself back because I'm like, do you have an ulterior motive? Are you weird? Like, what's going on? And I do have a product. So this is a very good thing. And it's not like team up, but it's like just talk to somebody. Just share audience members. Cuz sometimes some YouTubers are for entertainment, and sometimes the entertainment people want the hardcore, you know, I would say that mine's more structured information. I do have some humor in there sometimes, but mine's definitely not an entertainment channel. But yeah, I want to maybe bring a guest on potentially and just have them, especially if they're, but value added, like, I don't know. It's just something to think about. I was just kind of brainstorming because what I'd like to have is I'd like to have, a consolidation of good actors out in the community that are fighting the good fight for the veterans. And we're kind of making it known, maybe not who's a bad actor, but definitely lead by example. I don't know, just a thought. Just because what I don't want to have happen is like, there's a silo. There's 35 silos of information, and uh I don't I don't actually like things my way per se. Like, I'm fine with things kind of like, as long as the end result is what is desired. Sometimes I'm very flexible, very flexible. Yeah, that okay, so this Rob, this is actually a very good statement. I'm kind of vouching for them because I think that I don't know, is this real? And I know I'm not leaving like I said I was going to, but um is it real that like I feel like if I bring somebody on then I am vouching for them, and it weirds me out. So it's my I might team up with a Civ Div. Like, he said nice things about me. I guess I wouldn't want to. It would just be about a topic. It would be about a better understanding about a topic. But I don't know. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching tonight. I know it's off schedule, so not everybody showed up and all that kind of jazz. But we're gonna be doing Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel. So we're going to be doing the just normal time, 6 p.m. on Saturdays. I'm going to be putting out a few more videos every day. Like, subscribe, do all the things, the YouTubey things if you want to. Um, it helps the channel, helps supplement my coffee fund. Oh, wow. 123 questions logged this time. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Deke. I appreciate it. And we will do our best. Going on another channel makes more sense. Yeah, that does. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you later. Raider out.